What's going on, my brothers? It's your boy King E, back again with another banger. Retain Gang, what's poppin'? Day 8 or day 7. As you guys know, I'm terrible with keeping count because I don't count my days. I just, live life. I just say I'm gonna do something and I live life, and I stick to it. Especially now, since I'm very experienced in NoFap, I don't count no more because I know it works. And when I started NoFap, I used to count my days. Just to see if, for example, let's say I was on day 30, I would be very aware that day and see what was happening, see how I was feeling, so I could basically know that, so I could know somehow, so it could confirm to me that NoFap worked. And eventually, and obviously it did, now I don't have to count. This is just a regular lifestyle for me. I'm very convinced in NoFap. I believe in NoFap, semen retention. I believe in it, and I feel like this is a tool that you do forever. It shouldn't be a tool. This should be your normal way of living. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be convinced to you. NoFap and semen retention shouldn't be convinced to you. That is your natural state. Just think of it like this. It's not natural for you to watch porn, watch two other people have sex, and get off to it. Just not natural. Even though it's been happening since the beginning of times, just in different ways, but now, since we have hyperspeed internet, the visuals that we see are extremely, how do I say it? What's the word? Just, it's extremely addicting. The visuals that we see on porn now are way too extreme that it has a bigger effect on us. Back then, people would read books, or people would go to strip clubs and stuff, things like that. People would hire escorts. Before pornography, before internet. That's how it was. But now we have that freely. There's a reason why pornography is free, anyways. But we have that freely we have it in our pockets at all times, 24/7. So, we pick up the phone and we go to the sites and we see some of the most stimulated images. That's the word that I was looking for. It's the most stimulated images we have seen in human history. So this is why pornography is so dangerous, extremely dangerous. It's not normal. Like, the times that we're growing up in today with high-speed internet and extremely stimulating images of pornography, that does damage to us. So you shouldn't need convincing to live a NoFap lifestyle. Like, you shouldn't be counting days, and you shouldn't be studying or seeing how you feel on day 30 or on day 35. Like, that shouldn't be happening. This is a way of life, and you should believe in it. I don't blame you if this is your first time doing NoFap. Just me, I believe in it 100%. It's just the way of life for me. So, and semen retention. Obviously, I don't believe that sex is I don't know what happened, but yeah, I don't believe that sex is harmful. Sex with a loving and a careful partner, a partner that will bring value to you, bring true value to you. That's different. Connecting with a female is very different than jacking off to extremely stimulating images. Two different ways. Like, when you ejaculate with a woman, when you orgasm with a woman, when you guys connect and you're intimate with a woman, it's very different. I'm talking about a good woman, not a thought. Be careful with that, man, because sex is, it's energy exchange. So whoever you fuck, you guys are exchanging energies. You take in that energy of that person. So just be careful with that. But yeah, man, very extremely stimulating images. And speaking of counting days, so many people start NoFap and start semen retention, and they feel like that for some reason that this alone will solve all their problems. And you guys have to be careful with the videos, with the information as well that you guys intake when it comes to NoFap and semen retention. Now, the fact that you are doing NoFap, the fact that you're going on 2 days of NoFap is already ahead of like 95% of men in today's age. So be proud of that you're able to go on NoFap for 3 days, 4 days, and then even if you relapse, like, don't worry about the relapse so much, but just be proud of yourself that you can go a couple days. Don't let relapse define you. You know, stop worrying about counting the days, because counting the days makes you subconsciously think that for some reason when you relapse, let's say you go on day 5 and you relapse, it makes you subconsciously, you relapse once. I'm talking about a one-time relapse. It makes you subconsciously think that you're basically, that you have to start all over again from zero. And that's not true. As you keep on practicing NoFap, and as you keep on going long on streaks, even if it's short streaks at first, or even if it's like weekly, or bi-weekly streaks, your brain is rewiring. Your brain is constantly rewiring. This is years of rewiring your brain. It takes time to rewire your brain. So that's another reason why I don't count, is because it makes you subconsciously think about NoFap so much that you're putting so much energy into NoFap, and it'll cause you to relapse. The best way to do NoFap is to start it and not think about it. And another way it causes you to think about NoFap is the videos that you guys consume of NoFap. If you guys are consuming endless and countless videos of NoFap and semen retention, that's another way that it can make you subconsciously think about your streak so much. Because some people, like I said earlier, some people, they start NoFap and they think that NoFap and semen retention alone is going to solve all their problems. That's not true, man. That's not true. It takes, NoFap and semen retention is simply a tool, And like I said in previous videos, it gives you energy. NoFap and semen retention gives you energy, but you must put that energy into use. You're like a car. On NoFap and semen retention, you're basically like a car filled with gas, filled with like the most premium, I wouldn't say premium gas. You're just filled with a lot of gas, because semen retention and NoFap makes you more of who you are. But if you change who you are, and it's possible to change who you are with your thoughts by changing your thought patterns, and I could talk about this in another video. When you're on NoFap and on semen retention, when you change your thought patterns, when you change the videos that you intake, the videos that you consume, when you change people around you too, because people can influence you and make you who you are. When you change your environment, then on NoFap, you're like a car with the best gas inside of you, like premium gas, like changed oil, filtered oil. You're like a car with so much gas, but it's premium, it's refined gas. You know what I'm saying? It's like the best gas ever. So that's how I use that analogy with a person. When you're on NoFap and on semen retention, and you're changing your thought patterns, you're changing the things that you intake, you're changing what you eat and everything, you're like a human being with so much positive energy. And that's the powerful thing about NoFap. So NoFap and semen retention alone won't solve all your problems. If you're just on NoFap, you could be on day 300, but if you're still sitting on your ass and not doing nothing with that energy, trust me, bro, one, you're not gonna last that long. I doubt, if you're just sitting down and you're sedentary and you're not doing nothing with the energy, eventually you're gonna relapse. Like, you're gonna explode. That energy is extremely overwhelming for you to just leave it sitting. You have to transmute it in some way, either by breathing, either by meditating, or doing some other sort of spiritual practices. But another thing too, you're never gonna change. You're never gonna change. You're just gonna be a man filled with extreme energy, and you're gonna be the same person too. If you're not trying to change who you are, let's say you're a very angry and violent person. Semen retention is gonna make you more angry or violent, because it's gonna give you more energy. So you really have to change who you are in every way possible, spiritually, mentally, physically, even financially. Every way possible, you have to change who you are on NoFap and semen retention. And that's why I'm so careful about the video. Back then when I first started, this was like around, how many years? It's been 26, almost 10 years. Yeah, almost 10 years that I started NoFap. Almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years next year around April. So 9 years ago when I started NoFap, I was 17. I was 17 years old at the time. And yeah, man, I was so obsessed with NoFap. I was watching countless and endless videos so it can make me feel good about being on NoFap and being on semen retention, and not realizing that I wasn't taking action. I wasn't taking action with my energy at all. I was not doing nothing with my energy. In fact, I think it was for the worse, because the things that I were doing was like, regular teenager stuff. Like, I was growing up in a shitty environment. The Bronx is a shitty environment, whether you realize it or not. The Bronx is it's not set up for you to succeed in a way. So, not saying that you can't make it out. There are rare occurrences where people do make it out of the Bronx if they, stay the same, but, for you to have better results, you have to like separate yourself from this environment, from the shit. I'm talking about from my area, of the Bronx. Not speaking for area, just me personally. But yeah, basically what I was doing with that energy was just going outside, interacting with anybody, playing basketball all day, every day. And I was just turning into another statistic. I know that sounds crazy, but basically what it was. I was active though. I was working out, but yeah, I wasn't doing nothing with that energy. And funny enough, I did go on a 3-year streak during that time. So from 2016 all the way to 2019, I was on a 3-year no-fap streak. I ended up being on a 2-year semen retention streak as well. I was having sex. Sometimes, but I stopped having sex for a while, and I almost went like 2 years full, like without having sex, without busting a nut fully. And it was a good time. It was great. But what's funny is this: I got more results out of my life after 2019, when I started relapsing, like when the addiction came back into my life, I started relapsing. But I didn't let the relapse define me. I was still taking action in my life. I was changing who I was day by day, especially when I became a Christian. God exposed me to every problem that I have. God exposed me to everything. Like, I'm talking about the way my start. It was a gradual process. It wasn't overnight. But the more and more I started to connect to God, the more and more I started to change, and started to look at the world different. And that's, sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes for you to look at for something to wake you up, so you can look at the world around you and look at what's different. You'll look at it different. You have to look at the world around you different. If you don't like where you at. Me personally, I want to change. I want to succeed. I want to get out of here. So, But yeah, I was getting more results out of my life when I was taking action, even when I was relapsing. So that gave me a little clarification, So when I was on that 3-year streak, I made I was feeling good. I was feeling so good, but I didn't make much progress. Not until when I was relapsing, I was taking action in my life, and I was changing who I was. I got way more results out of my life. I was able to even get healthier in my fitness, journey. I was able to get more money, stuff like that. Things that I cared about. I was able to manifest things that I actually cared about, even while I was relapsing. So I'm not saying that NoFap doesn't work. I'm just saying that be careful what you do with your energy. Be careful what you intake, what you consume, and what you like you have to do things with your energy. That's what NoFap and semen retention, it works in that sense. It gives you so much energy. It does. Don't let people tell you that it doesn't give you energy. That's bullshit. It gives you energy. It gives you more energy. It's able to clear your mind, especially you not watching porn alone is enough. Like, it's very powerful. The fact that you're not watching porn when 95% of men are watching porn daily, multiple times a day, that already makes you different from the pack. But like I said, you have to do something with the energy. You have to, you can't just sit on your ass and expect for you to change. It's not gonna work like that. Yeah, when you take action, that's when you start to see, the real difference, the real change that'll happen in your life. When you start to take action and when you start to put that energy into good use, And that's why I'm documenting my success. I'm documenting my journey to success, my journey from the Bronx to something better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm gonna do with this energy. And I already know what it takes. It takes, one, you have to do semen retention and NoFap. It's a very important tool. It's probably the most important tool. NoFap, sexual discipline and food discipline is the most important two most important tools that a man can have. When you conquer your fleshly desires, you are unstoppable. That's why I also tell people to go on a fast. But yeah, NoFap and semen retention is needed, but it also takes for me to change internally, externally, everything about me. I have to act. Basically, you have to act like the man that you want to be. think about what type of person would he be. Think about how he would interact with people. Think about where he would live. You know, think about what he would do on a daily basis. Think about his morning routine, you know, things like that. You have to completely change. But yeah, man, it's a beautiful day, man. But yeah, man, I'm about to go get this workout in, man. See you guys tomorrow. That's all I got for y'all today. Peace. See you guys tomorrow. Stay blessed.